I'm fully convinced after watching this movie that it's a part of some kind of big money laundering scheme. There are so many well-known and great actors in this movie, and there's not a single person while as you're watching the movie where you're like, they cared about this performance. Before I fully get into it, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about the movie that just dropped called Megalopolis. And honestly, I was semi-excited for this movie. I saw the trailer once. It had some interesting concepts, and that's the key word, interesting concepts. Because every once in a while, there's that movie that has a really good trailer, but you kind of get, before you watch a movie, you kind of get that gut feeling that this movie's too ambitious. It's too ambitious, and I don't know if they can really make it work. And that's exactly what happened with Megalopolis, because it's really ambitious. There's a lot of ideas, future, time, and etc., manipulating time, but just the way it went down was not it at all. Before I start talking about things I didn't really like about this movie, I want to talk about the positives. I'd say the first 10-15 minutes of the movie were actually good. Like, it was cool. The main character's on top of a roof, he's about to jump off, and then time just stops. Time just stops and you're like, oh, okay, what the heck? And that right there was the best part of the movie. Literally, it happened in the first minute of the movie. After that, the movie just got really confusing. What really confused me about this movie is just the structure of the story. I feel like the movie was just going from plot point to plot point to another plot point to another plot point. The biggest plot point in the entire movie is this rivalry between the mayor of the city versus the dude that can control time. Their beef is so intense that the mayor's daughter starts dating the time dude. And it gets to the point where there's a whole nother backstory with the time dude's wife. This movie's all over the place. It's very confusing. The mayor basically confesses his involvement with the wife's murder or death or whatever, and he tells the time dude to stop dating his daughter. And right after that, the time dude gets shot in the face. And he's in surgery, and then he kind of just heals. And then the movie kind of just ends with them being cool. I know this is confusing the way I'm explaining it, but I'm literally trying to explain it how the movie was portrayed. You're just as confused as I was confused in the theater. Now let's talk about the acting. Adam Driver is the main character in this movie, and Adam Driver, from everything I've ever seen, is an amazing actor. I'm not saying this was a stinker from Adam Driver or anything, but as he was acting, it kind of felt like a spoof at times. Like, it felt like he was just mailing it in. It felt like it was just, you know, when you're at work and you don't really want to be at work, you're kind of just half-assing. That's kind of what I felt that through the screen watching it in the theaters. This is kind of a bad thing as you're watching a movie. I didn't watch the movie and I didn't look at him as the time dude. I looked at him as Adam Driver acting as the time dude. Another big actor in this movie that I really like is Shia LaBeouf. I don't know about y'all, but I never saw Shia LaBeouf have a bad acting performance ever in life. I've been watching Shia LaBeouf since Transformers 1. I love Shia LaBeouf. But I don't know what the hell he was doing in this movie. He's basically the main villain of this movie, I think. And the way he's acting is just, it seems like everybody in this movie is either overacting or underacting. Shia LaBeouf falls into the overacting aspect. He's literally acting like a cringe anime side villain in this movie. Like, that's literally how he's acting in the movie. The movie is just so weird and the structure's so weird. There's no way this isn't from like a book adaptation or something. Okay, so I just searched it up and it's not specifically based on one book. Apparently the director Francis Ford Coppola drew inspiration from like a few different books and made this movie. So there's no excuse on, oh, it's based on a book and the character's really wacky from the book, so that's why it kind of came off cringe. No! Shia LaBeouf's character in this movie is the worst character in the entire movie. Because he's a villain, but He's overacting too much. Honestly, this review was all over the place, and this is intentional. I literally wanted to make this review as chaotic as possible, just like my movie experience, you know? Like, I want to be kind of creative in that way, even if it would make kind of a mess of a video. I don't think this movie was fully horrible trash. It was a bad movie that was kind of a good time-ish. Like, there's certain scenes that are so ridiculous you laugh at. Apparently, I'm seeing that it's one of the biggest box office flops ever. Apparently, they put 120 million into the movie, and then the opening weekend, they only made around 2 to 3 million. That's kind of crazy. That's why I'm saying this has to be some kind of money laundering scheme. It's either that or the reason there's so many well-known actors, they just threw 20 million, 10 million, 5 million. Everybody just come make this movie. No one really cares about this movie. We'll draw in this movie and then we won't really make money. And that kind of makes sense, but it doesn't actually make any sense at all. But yeah, there's no way. There's so many talented actors and the director's not a bad director. That it's like there's no way they watched it like on their own premiere and they're like, oh, we're gonna put that out. This is a good movie. Like, there's no way that happened. There's no way. This is how I knew the movie was really bad. Because I have this thing where when I watch a movie I really like, the slight distraction and I'll go off because I'm fully locked in the movie. There were 3 people in the movie theater behind me. I was sitting next to... I went to the movies by myself for this one because no one really was trying to watch Megalopolis. But I was sitting next to one person and there were 3 people behind me. And those 3 people behind me literally were talking throughout the entire movie, like loudly. And I didn't really care. I did not care. Literally. The movie was so all over the place that one of my biggest pet peeves ever, I let it slide. I literally let it slide. Those are basically my chaotic thoughts on Megalopolis. If you guys watched the movie, let me know if you guys agree, disagree, and if you guys did not watch the movie, I highly recommend you guys go watch the movie. Even if it's not a good movie, it's still a funny time at the movies. Like, there's a lot of things in the movie that will give you a laugh, like the overacting and the underacting. So yeah, let me know what you guys think.